السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. المرحلة الثانية. This is our second lecture, and it is under the in this lecture we are going to talk about two things in narrative. That is the elements of short story and the types of the novel. يعني you know that the novel, the narrative or fiction is divided into subgenre, and we talk about this in the first lecture. Now in this lecture we are going to talk about the elements of short story. Those elements are necessary, are essential, must be found in what? In the any short story, and actually they are similar to other type of genre of the narrative genre. يعني they are similar to the elements of novel, elements of novella, so they are essential, and we studied them in last year, you remember, but now we are going to talk them in a certain details. Here what we have the first element, it is the story. That in order to have fiction, in order to have narrative in different genre, يعني short story, novella, novel, or short story, we supposed to have a story. What is the story? Story, it is the abstract idea that lies in the mind of the writer. It is the action in chronological order, يعني beginning, and at end. This is the story. The story, it is the normal order of the events. So it is different from the novel or from the short story. Why? Not necessarily the short story starts in the beginning, or the novel starts at the beginning. Sometimes the story starts at the end. يعني you remember Oedipus, for example. يعني صحيح هي drama, but also it has a story. So it has a story. What Oedipus is a young when the play starts, so it is start in the middle, not start at the beginning. So this is the difference between story, for example, and the novel. Story, it is what? Action in chronological order. What about the short story or the novel? No, not follow this order. Also it has what? It has the story is reduced and rather ghostly version of the real thing, while the novel is the story as it's seen through the eyes of the novelist. يعني the novelist, when he make his novel, he has a story in his mind. So this story, it is a chronological order of the events. He could change the order, omit certain events, add certain things. He could put his stamp or his touch on the novel. So he adds certain colors for his writing. The second element, that is the narrator. Narrator is very very important element in narrative. يعني I can't say we don't have narrative without narrator. الراوي, it is essential element in fiction. It is the voice that tells the story. Every story, if it is narrative, it's supposed to have to have a narrator to tell you the story. He has a present in the novel and makes an impression on the reader. He has a role, not only conveying the information for you. No, narrator has different types with the narrator, and every type has certain function, has certain purpose. يعني why the narrator, why the writer choose this kind, make the narrator in this category, in this kind, not in that kind, because there is a purpose behind that. Yes, what is the what is those types? Here we have three types: first person narrator, second person narrator, and third person narrator. Okay, first person narrator, it is a story that told by protagonist or one of the character. Here one of the character is the narrator, يعني he is character and narrator at the same time. He is acting with others, interacting with other characters, and tell us the story, convey the story for us. So That's why he say use pronoun I, me, we, those pronouns. And when he speak, when he convey the information for us as a reader, he say I, me, we, etc. Second person narrator here, told by a narrator who addressed the reader directly. يعني as if there is somebody who talk to you. You. He say you. Speaker use the pronoun you, your, yours, those pronouns. And mostly in the second person narrator, the speaker is the writer himself. يعني we feel that the personality of the speaker is similar to the personality of the writer. That's why we use second person narrator, because he is neither character, neither the reader. He is the writer himself sometimes. Third person narrator here, third person narrator that tells a story from unknown point of view. He is outsider. يعني هنا third person narrator, he is not one member of the characters. No, he is only narrator. His job only to convey the information for you. So he is outsider. He is just convey the information for you. يعني as a reader, we are going to see the events through the eyes of this kind of the narrator, third person narrator. So he can move from one character to another, from one event to another, and he have a free access to the thought. يعني he enter to the thoughts and feelings, motivations of the characters. So he introduced for us information as he went, information that as a reader we can't see them. Only he provide us with those kind of narration or of information. Point of view, another element is the point of view. Here the point of view is closely connected with the narration. يعني it is closely connected with the narrator himself. Point of view, it is the perspective from which the story is narrated. It is the angle from which the story is told. يعني we have now story, we have characters talk to each other, and we have narrator who convey the information for us. Okay, what do we have? What do we have with this narrator? Is this narrator has a view of his own? يعني he conveys the information for you. He give you the news, but does he impose his own view? Does this narrator has his own point of view, or only convey the information as they are in the story? This is the point of view. So here we have 3 points of view. We have objective narrator, and we have omniscient narrator, and we have the third type, unreliable narrator. So now let us discover what do we mean by each one of them. What is the objective narrator? Objective narrator يعني from his title clear. Objective, he is neutral, حيادي. He is only report the speech and action of other characters without having more than limits insight into their motivations and intention. يعني he only comments on the events in front of his eyes. They only convey the news as they are, without entering to their motivations and thoughts, without interpretation. Only conveys the information. He does not explain them. He does not supply us with explanation for the action. Only convey the information. So he is explicit narrator. He is outsider only. We call it also personate narrator. This is the objective narrator. Omniscient narrator, no. With omniscient narrator, this kind is other very important. Why important? This kind of narrator convey the information and explain the information also. Explain the events. He supplies us with his own view. He imposes his own view of the events or of the action, and he is the one who know everything. يعني omniscient narrator when start the story, he is from the beginning know everything. So this kind of the narrator affects our understanding of the story, affects our judgment on the character's behavior, on the character's personality. That's why this kind of the narrator is very يعني only the intelligent writer who use such kind of narrator, because it helps the reader to solve certain thing. The last kind of the narrator, it is unreliable narrator. This is يعني a rather trick or dangerous kind of narrator, unreliable narrator. It is the one whose perception and whose narration and interpretation of what he or she narrates does not correspond or coincide with the perceptions, interpretations, and opinions of the author. This kind is confused and untrustworthy or prejudiced. Why? يعني this kind of narrator is something like a trick, something like lies. يعني I give you example. This kind of narrator, sometimes the narrator is a little boy or a little girl. Sometimes the narrator is suffering from some sort of madness, some sort of mental disease. So if he is mad or mental disease, how he can convey the information or the news correctly? How for such a person or such a people who convey information as they are or interpret the events correctly? So such kind of narrator affect negatively on the reader. يعني he make us as a reader explain the events in a wrong way, not in a correct way. And here also only intelligent writer who use such kind of the narrator. يعني واحد يقول إيه ليش يعني يستخدم المؤلف. This is to add some sort of curiosity to his story, to add suspense to his story, to make the reader active. He wants the reader himself to discover the truth. يعني here the narrators of such kind is liars. He is sometimes tricks us, يخدعنا. So and we have يعني by the way, this course we are going to study the open window story. Is called the open window. We have a narrator which is unreliable narrator, and we are going to discover why it is unreliable, because يعني so many reasons. Either to be he is old person who is very very old and his memory sometimes is not work in a good way, or maybe he is a child. يعني you know a child is not, we can't take his speech as trustworthy. Other times suffer from some sort of madness or mental disease. So such kind of narrator is called unreliable narrator. A plot, what is the plot? A plot يعني معظم الطلاب هسه للأسف حتى تلقى بالمرحلة الرابعة تقول لك البلوت شنو، يقول لك البلوت is beginning middle end، أو نحلل المسرحية على أساس أو القصة على أساس البريتاج بيراميد. No students, a plot it is the author design for the novel. It is the author choices of the elements of the novel. يعني the author maybe went to what? Maybe went to choose first person narrator. Another writer he went to choose third person narrator. This author went his story to be omniscient. The narrator he went to make him omniscient. Another writer he went to make his author what? Objective narrator. So also the choice of what? The choice of the language, the choice of the division, the choice of the symbolism, motivations, those elements, different elements. So this is the plot. It is the design of the novel. It is not the beginning, middle, end, or it is not the action. Students, please differentiate between what? Between a plot and action. Differentiate between plot and story. Story is what? Story, it is the normal chronological order. A plot is what? It is the design of author, design of the novel, the author way of choosing the elements of his story. What also also I want you to differentiate between plot and structure. Plot and structure also. Why? Because structure also sometimes students confuse between a plot and structure. Structure, it is the division of the novel. يعني this book we call it, for example, novel. I can the writer divided it sometimes in two parts. يعني part 1, part 2, part 3. Other writers, he is going to divide his book into chapters, chapter 1, chapter 2, يعني especially those Victorian novelists. يعني in third year you are going to study, for example, inshallah, Charles Dickens, his novel Hard Times. This novel Hard Times is divided into three books: book 1, book 2, book 3. While in fourth year you are going to study, for example, modern novelists. Modern novelists, no, divide their book into chapters, and so this is the view of the novelist, but it is division. The structure, it is division of the novel. So this is the difference between plot and structure, difference between plot and story. Plot is not the action itself. Action, with action we know what do we mean by the action. It is essential parts, action, it is the events, the essential events of the story that change the correspondence or the consequences of the whole story. And you remember last year we studied the action and we analyze it according to what? According to Friedrich Pyramis. That is the, I make it image of the, this is, yes, action. Action, what is the action? Introduction, we have raising action, we have climax, we have falling action, we have denouement. It is the final or the end of the story, and it is very clear, I think. Yes, another element, that is the setting. The setting, it is time and place in which the story occurs or takes place. It is called setting. And when we call setting, this is something, it is referred to the time and the place, where and when the story occurs. Character, with the characters represent to the person, a place, or non-human things, sometimes animals, unanimated objects, sometimes the house, the car, playing a role in the story. يعني we have to study this year a doll's house. The adult's house, something, it is like doll, it is a toy, it is something like game, but this house it is considered as a character. So the character refers to human beings, to places, sometimes to things or animals. Sometimes the dog is animal, the dog is a character in the story. Okay, the division of the character, we have so many division for the characters according to the principality. يعني according to the according to the importance of the character in the story. We have a protagonist and antagonist. We have the protagonist, he is the hero, or he is the character that the reader sympathizes with, or antagonist, he is the villain against the hero. He is the bad, represent to the evil, while protagonist represent to the goodness. Character according to the development. According to the development, we have dynamic and we have static. Dynamic, the character that developed through the story, يعني developed from the beginning to the end. يعني from the beginning he is take one form, and at the end he is developing. He has another achievement, whether positive or negative, but he is developed, he is changed at the end, or with the passage of the story he is going to change. Static, no, he is a character that has no development at all. From the beginning till the end he is the same. Also we have character according to the personality. Personality, يعني we have sometimes round character. Round characters is sometimes this round character has multiple personalities, or has difficult personality. يعني round characters, especially those people who are educated, who are civilized, or who is very important in the story. King, queen. So those round character. A flat character, no, reveals conventional traits. The same through the story. Flat character also it is simple character, not difficult to understand, not difficult to analyze in the story. So we have round and the flat. Also we have another element, that is the conflict. We talked about the conflict last year. It is a struggle between two different forces, opposite forces actually. So the struggle between, for example, good side and evil side. Sometimes the struggle or conflict is external, other time it is internal or inner conflict. External conflict, for example, between a protagonist and antagonist. This is external. Inner conflict, it is psychological one. It is within the same person. It is, for example, between himself, good side and bad side. Yani this is especially you are going to meet it where in drama this year, students. In drama, you are going to study with, I think, Mr. Ali, Dr. Faustus. Dr. Faustus, through all the story, through all the play, suffer from this kind of struggle, inner struggle, good side and evil side. So this is the struggle, and is very important in developing the action, the conflict. يعني whether external or struggle. Sometimes the hero or the protagonist struggling with what? With the antagonist, sometimes with his society, other times with the religion, when he rejects certain rule orders, or with the system, political system. So this is external. What about the inner? It is something like psychological. Both types are important to develop the action. Another element which is very important to students, that is characterization. Characterization simply means what? How the writer makes his characters different, and how he convey those informations to you. يعني how, as a reader, how for you to differentiate between one character to another. يعني for example, you are going to study the adult house. The adult house, we have 3 sisters. يعني now you have this papers and this short story, and you are reading them. How you discover the differences between those 3 sisters? This is personality of, for example, the elder sister is what is something like a bride. What about the second sister? The second sister is very weak. She imitates her older sister. What about the little sister? The little sister, she is very brave, and she has a sympathy towards poor people. As a reader, how we discover those things? يعني we read the story, but how you discover, how you create in your mind the personality of each character. This is the characterization. How the method used by the writer to reveal the personality of the character. According to what? Here the writer may reveal or convey information for us about the personality of his characters in 2 ways: implicit and explicit. Explicit characterization, it is direct one. Here the writer makes narrator, for example, or one of the character, or the character himself, talk about himself, talk about the personality. For example, we in one of the stories, he said, I am the happy prince. The story, the happy prince, he said what? I am the happy prince. يعني he make the protagonist himself talk directly about himself. I am the happy prince. And this is direct one. He make the character talk about himself, or the narrator talk about the character, the personality of the character. He is, for example, he is the king of this city. Or he make other characters talk about him, but talk about the personality of this character. This is called explicit. This is called also direct characterization. Implicit characterization, no, it is indirect. It is something hidden. يعني the reader here appear the role of the reader. The reader has to discover the personality of this character. How he supposed to what, to observe the action, observe the thoughts, analyze the behavior of the character, and through all those things observe the action, analyze the behavior, or he could discover the personality of this person. يعني we don't listen to others what they say about this character. No, the reader himself, he is going to reach to the personality of this character. How? He by observing, analyzing the, or discover the thoughts, behavior, and speech, and even the appearance, the external form of the characters. So here this is the characterizations. The writer make every character different from other in his external form, يعني his tall, his hair, his face, and in his personality. But how he convey or reveal those information for the reader, this is the characterization. This is by two ways, explicit and implicit. The other element is the theme. طبعا this word is going to be repeated so many times in this course. The theme, it is the main idea or underlying meaning of literary work. It is the main idea that the writer went to discuss in the literary work. Sometimes we have one theme, and other times we have 2, 3, 5 and more themes. Suspense, it is a state of uncertainty, state of curiosity. يعني this is only the intelligent, successful writers who may use this tool, suspense, to make his reader to in suspense. He wants him to what, to discover what is going to happen next. So this is a successful, I think, يعني element. Motive, it is the reasons or forces that push the character to behave in certain ways. يعني why the character do this, why the character does not do this. So this is the motive. And what do we have also? يبقى عندنا types of the novel. طبعا we have so many types of the novel, but now we are going to take those only types, and when we study the short stories, 5 short stories, we are going to comment on other types of the novel. Here what do we have? We have these types of the novel. The first type is the epistolary novel. Epistolary novel, it is narrative is conveyed by exchange the letters. يعني letters is a major technique here is used. يعني the characters are communicate with each other by what? By letters. They sending letters, so many letters for each other. So this is called epistolary novel, and we have Samuel Richardson Pamela. It is a very famous novel, English novel. It is called epistolary novel. Picaresque novel, this kind of novel, it is from Spain. It is a Spanish novel, this kind, and it is the major character is whom is rough people, not يعني elite or educated people. No, they are of low class people, uneducated. Mostly they are thieves or beggars or deserted people. Those people are rejected by their society, so they hate their society. From their childhood they are, for example, orphaned. So Picaresque novel are what it is, episodic in structure. يعني there we have so many episodes, يعني story within a story, and arranged in as a journey. And we have so many characters, so many names, so many places, because you know those thieves or group of thieves are wandering from one place to another, and they have so many people who or friends who are similar to them. So we have so many names, so many episodes, so many places. The narrative focus on one character, more than one character, but in the short story in one character actually. And we have what the form of Picaresque narrative emerged in the 16th century from Spain, and we have this example. طبعا students, I want you to memorize the examples. Daniel Defoe Molefender is an example of Picaresque novel. It's some يعني even the names of those characters, the external features or form of those is an arrange. The name is sometimes has meaning or reflect the personality, because sometimes he has a pseudonym or borrowing name, not their original name. Even their way of speak, يعني they speak in what, in a low way, because they are low class people, no low in everything, in their manner, in their behavior, in their moralities. So this kind of story focus on this slice in the society, this group of people. Picaresque novel. Historical novel from its name, history. يعني we have a story, it is done a story from the history, battle, struggle between two nations, story of king, and come the writer to build his own writing short story or novel around a historical events. So we have the characters and events, most of the characters and events are real, they are taken from the history, and develop these elements with attention to the non-facts, and makes historical events and issues important to central narrative. مثلا Charles Dickens A Tale of Two Cities، هذه historical novel. وعندنا Buildings Roman. Buildings Roman هاي Germany, from German. نعم، novel of education يسمونها الاسم الثاني إلها. Here such kind of novel it traces the development of the character from his childhood to his adulthood. يعني he traces something as a line from his birth to his youth to his death. So this is called Buildings Roman novel. عندنا Charles Dickens, David Copperfield, and Henry Fielding, Tom Jones. This is called Buildings Roman. Gothic novel is very important novel that is Gothic. يعني it is the aim to evoke terror and horror on the reader. Gothic novel set in desolated landscape, ruined abbeys, medieval castle with يعني unreal character. Sometimes those creatures are what doom or non-human, half human, half animal, wild creatures. The what the atmosphere is dark atmosphere to arouse the sense of what, sense of horror within the reader. A gloom atmosphere where they are confronted with supernatural forces, demonic powers, wicked tyrants, something to, and it is very dark and ambiguous, not easily to understand. And in this year we are going to study Black Cat. Black Cat is a typical Gothic novel. Also, what do we have? We have social novel. Social novel from its name, social, يعني society. It focuses on society, the problem of society, different problem, يعني problem of marriage, of education, of religion, politics, and mostly of politics. So we know that it is the age, in the 18th century, it is the age of realism, and we know what do we mean by realism. يعني it is not the fantasy or so much exaggeration or imagination. No, here it is the age of reality, dealing with the here and the now, the problem of the current time. So this novel, social novel, we have particular kind of novel is called social novel. It focuses mainly on the problem of the present day. So, and we have people or the reader welcome such kind of writings because it's what, it enrich them, it help them to understand their society and their problem, and help them to what, to find a solution for their problem. For example, Charles Dickens, Oliver Twist. He talked about, Charles Dickens in this novel talked about what? Talks about orphan boy Oliver, who grow up in the street, and he is going to be a thief at the end because he is orphan. So, and this is a very famous phenomena at that time in England and the 18th century. Those are orphan people or orphan children actually. Science fiction, it is a variety of, it is from short story to novel. Its topics include quest for other worlds, always the science fiction, and especially we watch them in movie. It is a quest for other worlds, influence of alien beings on Earth, يعني not a human being, something, those creatures that are strange creatures, how they attack the Earth, or alternate realities. They can be utopian, dystopian, or set in the past. Utopian and dystopian يعني something he wants to create the world as if it is a hell, or other time to create a world as if it is a paradise. This is the meaning of utopian and dystopian. Common all types of science fiction is the interest in scientific change, interest in the future. Mary Shelley, Frankenstein. This is example. Detective story is something, detective novel we call it also. Detective story or detective novel, it is built on crime, and we have a criminal and victim. We have crime, we have a person who is commit this crime, and we have a policeman or investigator. He went to discover the story of this crime and to solve the problem and solve the puzzle of this crime. And in this part of this kind of the novel, the reader keep in the suspense. He went to discover who is the criminal and why he committed his crime, and sometimes we discover that the major character, the protagonist himself, is the criminal himself. So, and it has certain characteristics. Detective story include a mystery surrounding murder, close circle of suspects, a gradual uncovering of hidden pasts. And the best example, Agatha Christie, Murder on the Orient Express. I think this is the end, but students, we have so many types of novel, يعني we just take those. Okay students, now this is the end of the lecture, and I want to talk about certain things. طلاب أتمنى يكون الشرح واضح، وإذا عندك أي سؤال طرحه إلي بالتعليقات. أما موعد المحاضرة، فموعد المحاضرة هو مثبت عندنا بالجدول، بس أنا راح شوي رأست القسم حتى إحنا نثبت لنا موعد خاص بينا طلاب، لأن صراحة أنا خاصة موعد الصباحي ل8:30 أنا عندي مشكلة بالنت الصبح يصير، فيعني أنا ذاك الأسبوع ما تعرفون الحالة اللي عشتها، الليل كله ما نايمتع بس على مود أحصل النت وأنزل المحاضرة، وما نزلت المحاضرة ب8:30، فموعد 8:30 نهائيا ما خدمنا. فإن شاء الله أعطيكم إعلان بهذا الشيء، بس اتصل مع القسم أروح أشوفهم وحدد موعد محاضرة إنه ثابت طلاب، ينزل لكم إعلان بالكلاسين الصباح والكلاس المسائي، بحيث تعرفون موعد المحاضرة شو وقت، يعني كأن يكون مثل قبل موعدنا كان أفضل، قلها عندنا نت نقدر نستقر شوية. طلاب تبقى عندنا ورقة الحضور، ترى ورقة الحضور هي تنتهي بانتهاء المحاضرة، يعني ما معقولة أنا المحاضرة مخلصة وبالليل الطلاب تراسل تعال أنا ما مسجل حضور، يعني أنت ما حاضر بالمحاضرة، أنا شو أسوي لك؟ ورقة الحضور هي تنزل، شو وقت ما تنزل، يعني إحنا بالعادة شو وقت ناخذ الحضور بالأيام الاعتيادية، مو بآخر 5 دقائق مما نخلص المحاضرة نبدأ نصيح الأسماء، شنو المشكلة؟ يبقى عندك نت، ما عندك نت أنا أنزل لك ورقة الحضور وأنت تشوفها، بس بعد بورقة الحضور أكو شغلة أنتم ترسلونها من واحد لواحد حتى الطالب ما جاي، ترى إحنا نشيك التعليقات اللي عندي، الحاضر فعلا بالصف عندي، فهذا الما حاضر كله أعطيه ديليت، فيعني ماكو داعي، فقط هو الموجود بالمحاضرة خليه يسجل اسمه. تبقى عندنا أيضا التعليقات، طلاب انتوا دائما تشتكون، يقول ست قولي لهم لا يعلقون. إيه يعني طلاب انت هسه صرت مرحله ثانيه، يعني انا اقول لك علق ولا تعلق، ترى هم ما اشوفها ما ادري شلونها. يعني انت شكك، يعني هواي طلاب تكتب اسمائها وتكتب تم وتكتب ما اعرف ايش، يقولون الطلاب الباقي احنا بعد ما نقدر نوصل للمحاضره، خاصه من تعلنيها بالسترين. يعني الطلاب هاي الشغله يمكم، انت تكتب اسمك على شنو كاتب اسمك؟ انا اعرف اكو قائمه عندي ومسجلتكم انا يمي. فالطلاب ماكو داعي لهاي الشيء. تبقى عندي شغله الاجوبه. طلاب ايضا احنا مرحله ثانيه صرنا، يعني مو جديدين على الشغله. الجواب هو ينسال السؤال ويجاوبون طلاب، ماكو داعي تجيني بنهايه المحاضره تسوي كوبي بيست للاجوبه وتنشر لي اياها. انت يعني شتري اعتبرك انت مجاوب؟ يعني وغالبا الطلاب يسوي كوبي بيست، يعني نفس الجواب جاي يتكرر. انت اكتب الجواب باسلوبك، يعني اقرا السؤال، عندك المحاضره المفروض قاريها قبل فتره، واكتب الجواب باسلوبك، خلي اشوف طالب لغه انجليزيه جاوبني، مو تسوي لي كوبي بس وتنقشوها لي اوكي. اقرا بغير مصدر، ما يعجبك هاي المحاضره تقول انت انا مثل عندي مصدر ثاني وانا اشك بيها، بس انت اكتب باسلوبك، مو تاخذ لي كوبي بيست نفسي تنزله الي. يعني انت وين شغلك بالموضوع؟ وين اسهامك بالموضوع؟ فقط كوبي بيست هو هذا. فطلابنا انتم يعني مو بعدين نقول لك انا هم كنت اجاوب وما حسبتي لي سعي. لا طلاب ترى انا مو فيك شيء، يعني انا اعرف الطالب من يجاوب مو مثل ياخذ كوي بس. اتصور وتنزيل المحاضرة قبل الوقت هم طلبتوا مننا شيء. انا العام احنا مشينا بهذا الشيء، ننزل المحاضرة قبل الوقت حتى تلحق تقراها، اللي يريد يقراها ويلحق يستمع لها. بس انا عندي صارت ذاك الاسبوع مشكلة بالنت وما اقدر انزل بالوقت اقلها، مو قبل الوقت، بالوقت انا ما قدرت انزلها. فلذلك طلاب ان شاء الله راح تتنزل المحاضرات قبل يعني يوم اقلها، حتى الطالب يلحق يقرا ويستمع للمحاضرة، ونبدي محاضراتنا نبدي نطرح الاسئلة ان شاء الله الطالب يقدر يجاوب عليها. هذا كل اللي عندنا طلاب. وطلاب شغلة اخيرة عندي، طلاب هواي تسأل على الباسورد مال الايميل مالته. يعني طلاب ما معقولة سنة ونص صار لنا، ما ادري ايش قد سنة، خلينا نقول سنة كاملة وانت الباسورد ما تعرف تكتبه بدفتر وتحفظه على جهة، يعني الا تكتبه بالموبايل صورة ويحفظه، ومن تثبت الموبايل تروح هو والصورة مالته. هذا ايميلك الرسمي، هذا تمشي بيه يعني 4 سنوات. كتبه بورقة وخليه، يعني مو صعبة هاي، او احفظه، ما تقدر تحفظه كتبه بورقة، شيء سهل جدا. وبعض الطلاب يقول راسلني يقول اكو استمارة وطلبوا من عند الباسورد. ترى ماكو استمارة يطلبون بيها الباسورد. الباسورد هذا لا تعطيه لاي احد، الباسورد بس الك. اذا استمارة تطلبون عندك، يعني استمارة مو تعليمية اقصد، اذا استمارة وتطلبون عندك الباسورد، هاي معناها انت الباسورد مالتك راح ينفتح عند الكل، ياخذون الباسورد مالتك ويشتغلون بيه. فدير بالكم طلاب من هاي الشغلة. وهاي نهاية المحاضرة. Thank you very much for your listening.